For some reason, this is one of those things that non-pros don't get the importance. It is so much easier for you to make a great offer if you're really clear on who you're making that offer to. And it's so much more incredibly difficult to create a solid offer. Forget about like an amazing offer, a solid offer when you know nothing about your prospects. And so, what turns an offer into a heat seeking missile getting you customers is being precision focused on exactly that one customer type. I recently read Alex Hormozi's book, $100 Million Offers. I thought it would be fun to one, share some of my notes from Alex's book, then pull from some old stuff of mine. What's interesting to me is this story about how I learned about the power of an offer and how important the work the buyer has to do once they've bought your product to actually get the outcome they want is incredibly integral to how good your offer is, right? How much work does the customer or client or prospect have to do once they buy to actually get what it is they really want? Because most purchases are not the end goal, they're a means of getting to that end goal. I recognize that, I've known that, but I forgot about that. My very first offer when I launched coaching, and it was a hybrid of group coaching and personal coaching, the irresistible part was by the time we're done coaching, you will be making double what you're making now. You will be working half as much as you are working now. So in aggregate, it'll be a 4x for every hour that you invest in your business when we're done. Or I will give you all your money back. So all the personal coaching, everything back to you. And that offer was strong enough to get a lot of people to apply. And I could pick the ones that actually I felt I could deliver that promise to. Those were the ones I picked. And that worked really well for me. But I shared this quote with you guys last week about Jay Abraham and how this quote of Jay's, which is most entrepreneurs fall in love with the wrong thing. They fall in love with their product or their business or their brand, when in fact they should fall in love with their customers. And I think that even though I've known that quote forever, I think I might have fallen a little guilty of that myself, actually, that I launched the business growth system with that offer that I just explained, right? And then because of the track record of business growth system, because of the number of gurus that have gone through that program before they were gurus and have gotten very far, I felt like my program was more like the Harvard Business School of Internet Marketing or something like that. And so I think I fell more in love with the product itself and therefore felt like I didn't have to package it or sell it as hard. And I think that most likely cost me a lot of money now that I think about it. So, yeah, that is some backstory on offers. I think where we'll start, right, is understanding why we're talking about offers in the first place. Offers are incredibly important. They really are the lifeblood of your business. And it's really the first interaction that customers have with you, not prospects, but it really defines your company in a lot of ways. And in a day and age where customers are so saturated with advertising messages, it's very hard to stand out. And even when it was easier to stand out, whenever that was, right? The most knowledgeable people in direct response determined that at the end of the day, it was like list, offer, copy in that order. First is like who you're targeting. You could have the best offer in the world, but if you're targeting the wrong people, it does not matter, right? So it's target market or audience first, it's offer second. And a lot of times the way it's broken up is 40% list, 40% offer, 20% copy. And there definitely is no question that the offer itself is more important than the copy. And that an offer can be so good that it doesn't require a lot of convincing, or an offer can be lackluster and therefore require lots of convincing. And so the question is, how do you make an offer that makes it very difficult for your prospects to say no to? In fact, Clayton Makepeace, a mentor of mine who passed away in the last year, he used to say, you want to turn your offer into an intelligence test. Like you'd have to be an absolute imbecile to say no to this, right? It's no longer an offer, it's an IQ test. And there's this thought about that, right? That a lot of times it's how you put the offer together. And so last time we talked about taking out elements from your core offer and actually making them bonuses so that you can like get people's attention on those specific outcomes. And instead of just listing like in bullets what each module or whatever that it is that you're selling, talk to people about the future. So instead of saying like what they're going to discover while they're going through this, right? Talk to them about what they'll be able to do, what they'll be able to know, how they'll feel, etc. after they've completed this. So we're taking the emphasis of the focus on not the having to do the work, but on actually the outcomes of having done the work. Those are critical. Those are important. So now I'm just going to find my book notes. These are my notes from Evernote on the book. And for those that don't know, I tend to over highlight and then I go through successive pass throughs. I learned this from a gentleman by the name of Tiago Fort. He has a program called Build a Second Brain, and it's called progressive summarization. And I get a lot of value out of that. My intention is not to share the notes because I really don't want anyone to think that they shouldn't buy the book, and they really should buy the book. And my notes aren't done anyway yet, but I thought it would be useful anyway. So let's dive in. We'll riff on some of these notes, okay? Profitable offers using a combination of pricing, value, guarantees, and naming strategies. So all of these elements are incredibly important. Okay, so your offer is what you use to attract customers, and it's what you use to differentiate yourself from the market, right? If your offer does not appear different, then guess what? Neither do you, and you're pretty much invisible. So your offer in and of itself, and I think this was something that actually was new to me. Never really thought about this before, but one of the easiest ways to instantly convey you're different is to have a very different type of offer. If the offer itself is so different, you don't have to tell anyone you're different. Differentiated equals value-driven purposes, and he was contrasting that with commodity-driven, right? Where now it's not very important as far as who you're getting it from or whatnot. So when something is differentiated or value-driven, according to Alex, it can't be compared to any other product or service. Combining an attractive promotion, an unmatchable value proposition, a premium price, and an unbeatable guarantee with a money model, payment terms, that allows you to get paid to get new customers, right? Which is the ideal, right? If average order value is higher than the average cost per acquisition, then you can scale to infinity. If it's less than, there is only so much you can afford to advertise, and it might be a lot less than you think. So this is the idea. If your offer is so different, what that does is it forces your prospect to stop and think differently to assess the value of your differentiated offer that is selling your differentiated product. We want to make an offer that's so different that you can skip the awkward explanation of why your product is different. I'd never heard that before, and I thought that was really smart. Okay, massive pain. And in lean, we're looking for a problem that is in search of a solution. We're not just looking for a problem. We're looking for a problem that people are actively looking to solve and not really having any great solution out there. Okay, so massive pain. They must not want, but they must desperately need what I'm offering. The degree of the pain will be proportional to the price that you'll be able to charge. The pain is the pitch. If you can articulate the pain a prospect is feeling accurately, they will almost always buy what you're offering. That is totally true. That is one of the ideas behind one of the quotes that I've shared more than probably any other quote, which is that which is most personal is most general. So the shortcut to being able to describe your prospect's pain is to think of your own. And oftentimes everyone is suffering from the same thing. Purchasing power, obviously, you want to be in a market that can afford to buy your stuff. Easy to target and growing, right? A growing market makes growing your business 10 times easier than trying to grow a business in a market that's not growing or in a market that is contracting. All right, let's see. I'm just looking back at the comments. On an offer being a USP, I see what you're saying. I was thinking of Walmart's USP being low price, but I see what you mean. Yeah, that's not a specific offer, right? It's an element and would have an impact on every offer they make. It's 99 cents in Kindle format right now. Just buy it. Yeah, it's dirt cheap, the book. Such a great back. He's using these books as lead gen. And then there's nothing to buy except him like coaching and helping you grow your business. But the only type of business he'll take is a business that's between 3 and 10 million. And if you want his mentorship, coaching, whatever, you're going to have to give up a piece of your business. And so I think it's very, very smart. By the time someone gets to Alex, I'm sure they're selling Alex on why he should choose their business to help grow as opposed to the other way around. It's the same reason why it's very difficult for me to try and sell a $3,000 an hour consult, right? Or $15,000 a day consult. But I do sell them, and I sell quite a bit of them. And that happens because of the marketing that brings people to me, but it's not something that I can aggressively sell. So anyway, 3 main markets that will always exist. This is true. This is anyone in direct response would tell you this, and it's health, wealth, and relationships, or health, wealth, and sex, or potency, or etc. Starving crowd is more important than the offer strength, which is more important than persuasion skills. Tend to agree with that. It helped us know exactly who we were speaking to at all times and exactly whose problems we were solving. This is the most important point. And for some reason, this is one of those things that non-pros don't get the importance. It is so much easier for you to make a great offer if you're really clear on who you're making that offer to. And it's so much more incredibly difficult to create a solid offer. Forget about like an amazing offer. A solid offer when you know nothing about your prospects. And so what turns an offer into a heat-seeking missile getting you customers is being precision focused on exactly that one customer type or avatar or persona. Think about Steal Our Winners, because I think most of you, some of you should be familiar with that. It's our core product. So with Steal Our Winners, think about, let's say, 3 different avatars or personas, right? Entrepreneur, agency owner, media buyer. All 3 are represented in our customer base, right? But how I would go about selling any specific one of those would be very different than how I would sell the others. And I could do a much better job if I know I'm talking to agency owners, talking about what Steal Our Winners can do for their agency and for their clients, and getting more clients and getting better results for those clients than how I would talk to an entrepreneur. Right? Because an entrepreneur, now I'm going to be talking about finding the one tactic that you can immediately put in place that will immediately give your business a payoff. I'm going to talk totally differently. And so I think that most entrepreneurs and marketers, because of the perceived effort to create a persona, thinking that they will shortcut the process by not doing that, in fact, make the whole job so much more difficult. And so I just wanted to stress that point, because I find that so often it's elements like this that are easy to overlook that then create challenges for you later on. So next point here, and let's go back to the notes. Once you know who you're speaking to, then the next thing is reason, because you can literally charge 100 times more for the exact same product. And Dan Kennedy was the first person to illustrate that to him. And Dan Kennedy was the first person to illustrate that to me. You might be able to sell time management for 20 bucks, time management for entrepreneurs for 97 bucks, time management for online entrepreneurs who are coaches. Maybe that's 300 bucks. Like, the more niche down, the more valuable it is to that select market that you're speaking to. Okay. You must understand value. The reason people buy anything is to get a deal. They believe what they are getting, value, is worth more than what they are giving in exchange for a price, right? And that should be obvious to everyone. The simplest way to increase the gap between price to value is by lowering the price, although that's the wrong decision for pretty much every business. So let's just be clear. There's value and there's price, right? The simplest way to close that gap is to lower your price. But that is the wrong decision for businesses. In fact, you should charge as much as possible. You are competing a lot less on price than you realize. Most business owners are not competing on price or value. When you decrease your price, I agree with all of these. You decrease your client's emotional investment. It's why I used to tell friends who wanted to go through my coaching program, if you want to do that and you want me to treat you like a client, here's what I recommend. Pay me. And when you finish the course, I'll give you your money back. But if you don't finish it, I'll keep it as a motivation to finish. This way, I'm not wasting my time answering your questions and coaching you on something that you're not committed to. The bigger part was what Alex is talking about here. I want people emotionally invested. If they're going to have to do work, they better be emotionally invested. It decreases your client's perceived value. When you decrease your price, it also decreases the perceived value in the minds of your prospects because it requires less commitment. Because they're not as invested, they will get worse results and it destroys your margin. When you raise your prices, it increases your client's emotional investment, their commitment, their likelihood of taking action, and therefore their likelihood of getting results. It increases your client's perceived value because people equate value with price. And therefore, as you increase price, you increase the perceived value. It increases your clients' results because of that increased emotional investment. It attracts the best clients and it multiplies your margins. Agree with every single one of those things. The more invested they are, the more likely they are to achieve the positive result. Therefore, it follows that if you care about your customers, you should get them as invested as humanly possible. And there's certainly a lot of truth towards that. Okay, the goal should be to charge as much money for your products or services as humanly possible. If you provide enough value, it should always be a steal for the prospect. That is the power of value, the value equation. So you're trying to increase what's on top, you're trying to decrease what's on bottom. On top is the dream outcome times the perceived likelihood of achieving that outcome divided by perceived time delay between actually starting and paying and getting the outcome and the amount of perceived effort and sacrifice. And that is a great formula. What will I make is the dream outcome. How will I know it's going to happen? That's the perceived likelihood of achievement. How long will it take? What's the delay? And what is expected of me? What am I going to have to do to get it? Right. And I thought he did a really good job of breaking this all down. I had learned this from the webinar whole thing that I told you guys about, but this is where it's at, right? You really have to recognize that you are in the business of helping your customers get an outcome. They're not buying your thing for your thing. And the less they have to do to get to that outcome, the better your offer is. And so this is what Alex is saying as well. He says, anyone can make a promise. The harder and more competitive are time delay, effort, and sacrifice. I have shifted my focus to the hard stuff, decreasing the bottom side of the equation. If you can make the bottom part of the equation equal to zero, you're golden, right? Because if it was at zero, then a prospect would, in theory, purchase something from you. And the moment their credit card was run, it would immediately become their reality. They'd already get the outcome. Perception is reality. It's not about how much you increase your prospect's likelihood of success or decrease the time delay to achievement or decrease their effort and sacrifice. This in itself is not valuable. And this is also a critically important point, right? Many times they will have no idea. The Grand Slam offer only becomes valuable once the prospect perceives the increase in likelihood of achievement, perceives the decrease in time delay, perceives the decrease in effort and sacrifice. In other words, you have to connect the dots for your prospects and the people that you want to be customers. You have to get them to see that the likelihood of success is much higher with you, that they have less to do to get that success with you, that it will happen in a shorter amount of time with you. And so these are all the critical elements that you really have to work on in the minds of your prospects. I increasingly approach problems to find psychological solutions rather than logical ones. Rory Sutherland is a great resource for those. All right. I think that this might be a good place for right now to stop with these notes. Tell me what you guys think. I wanted to show you some stuff from the past and also create some talking points here. Okay, yeah, cool. Seems like it just blew up. Yeah, it does, right? Interesting. Just got the book. Your recommendations haven't failed me yet. I think you'll enjoy the book. Seems like Alex's book just blew up out of nowhere. Don't mean this in a negative way, just saying it has a calculated marketing effort to it. Well, look, I never met Alex until I spoke to him on the phone after I read the book. The only reason I recommended it is because it's a damn good book. I think he started his YouTube channel about couple months ago. So he's lining up all his ducks. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Obviously, you want to do that before you go to market. It definitely did just come out of nowhere. But I think that just shows you cream rises to the top. This is why I used to teach people make time for greatness. I don't believe that mediocre daily content is a superior way to get your name out there than creating something that is worthy of being spread. And being spread, it's something that you got to never forget. I didn't share this because I like Alex. I don't know Alex. I've spoken to him for 30 minutes. I'm sharing the book and the information on the book with you because I care about you. I'm not doing this for Alex. I'm doing this for you. And I'm doing it for myself for you, right? Things get shared not because people fall in love with the person who created it. Things get shared because the person who's sharing it believes that someone else would benefit by going through it. It's a lot easier to get me to share something if I just go through it and I'm like, people should actually go through this than any kind of incentive or anything. In fact, any kind of external incentive has me question, am I doing this for the right reason? You mentioned in one of your past streams that you read or followed someone who took you down a wrong path for 2 years. Are there any business lessons in that, Rich? If so, if and it's not personal, would you care to share? Totally understand if you don't, though. No, I mean, Damon, in reference to that, I went down the wrong path when I first got online because of I guess, a myriad of reasons, really. But if I had to boil it down to, let's say, 3 primary reasons, the first was what was being advertised at the time. The BizOp offers of the moment at that time were go online, start a website, sell ebooks, stuff like that, and never have any employees and just make money and check your sales from the beach or whatever. Now, I had a business that had a payroll that was several millions of dollars a year with my hypnosis centers. And so after 9/11, and I didn't cut people fast enough, I had a grueling year selling off pieces of the business and everything and having to make payroll every 2 weeks. So when I left the hypnosis industry, the last thing I wanted was employees. And so even though in every other business I had tons of employees, I didn't have any day-to-day responsibilities in my other businesses. I got online and what was being advertised was like this no employee approach. And I had just gone through a year of sweating payroll every 2 weeks. So not having employees would have been, for me, heaven for a little while. And on top of that, like I had the experience of being pretty good at direct response because of my hypnosis centers. That's how we grew it. So my thought is that, well, direct response online is like, that's what it is. I could design the campaign, have it just be running in perpetuity, and it could be selling something. And I really could be checking my stats from the beach. 2 years later, as I was writing in my journal, wondering why I wasn't making anywhere near the kind of money I had made throughout my life up until that point, I realized that I was doing everything and I had never done that in any of my businesses and how absurd that would be. And so then the more I thought about it, I created a U diagram, which was everything I felt I was responsible for in my business. And then that U diagram was in a presentation, and 95% of the people who applied for my coaching program that I told you about told me that they decided during that part of the presentation. And so hopefully, Damien, that answers the question. But it was really that I was ripe for the thought that I should try and do it without employees. The context just so happened to be that was the flavor of the BizOp at that time. And so it just came together for me to go down a path where I should have known better because I'd already built the hypnosis center up to 13.4 million. And I had built the store to 7.5 million or something like that. So yeah, I just went down the wrong road, and that's what happened. I think the psychological solutions are the most desirable ones. People like to believe that they are logical thinkers, but we are all irrational beings who use reasoning to justify our choices. Totally agree, Dr. Vogelman. The best book I ever read about that, if you really want to understand why we're not rational creatures, we're rationalizing creatures, is the book, Why Everyone Else is a Hypocrite. A great book on evolutionary biology and also understanding consciousness really has no clue what's going on. It just will make up stories about what's going on. Yeah, you got to read the book to understand it, but it was powerful. Great short form content is easier to spread than long form content. At least that is today's trend. Yes. But look, when you write a book and it's good, people talk about it. Can you give an example of a psychological versus logical solution? Yeah, sure. Like the Uber thing, the logical solution would be get the car there as fast as humanly possible, right? That's a logical solution. The psychological solution is show people where the car is currently and its progress, and people will find the wait more enjoyable and therefore won't have a problem with it. So it's things like that. The logical solution is always the straightforward approach. The straightforward approach has probably already been tried and has been taken to the point where taking it any further would not make financial sense. And so the psychological elements are often very cheap and can be more effective. Hopefully that helps. I heard about this book for the first time earlier today, but it was suggested by a cohort in a coaching group. I haven't seen any ads at all for it, just recommendations. Yeah, I haven't seen any ads for it either. I've just seen recommendations. I mean, why would you advertise a 99-cent book? You're going to lose money on every sale, right? Can a soft skill like storytelling be a premium offer? Not $100 million, but high ticket. Well, it all depends, Galen, on how you position that, right? If you tell me that if my business had a specific type of story, that specific type of story would act like a trail of breadcrumbs throughout the internet. And it would be drawing people to my site on a minute by minute basis, an hour by hour basis, a day by day basis. And all of that would happen when I release this story on the world, then yeah, it would be, right? Once again, like someone's not learning storytelling or using a story for endpoint. They're using that to get somewhere. We talked about this, I think, in the last live stream, that one of the easiest offers, especially for high ticket, is taking the angle of money at a discount, right? So generally, I sell money at a discount. Dan Kennedy, most internet marketers, you are buying with the intent and belief that you are going to get more money back because of what you purchased, which is very different than most purchases out there, hence money at a discount. Hey, Rich, just joined Steal Our Winners and want to say that this has been a game changer and is worth the investment as I am transferring this info to my current guests. Cool. Thank you for saying that, Raymond. All right, let's open up something else here. I found this on my hard drive. I know it's something that I worked on back in 2007. So this is 14 years ago, but I can tell you that we're talking about the principles of offers. You're not going to see that much has changed. Find your marketing mojo, the power of a compelling offer. About 70% of companies today are constrained by their marketing. The deciding factor in achieving momentum as a startup will be the power of your marketing. Marketing's power comes from delivering an irresistible offer to a hungry marketplace. The success of a startup often boils down to the power of their offer. Why it matters. This is a huge leverage point within your business. It's the big idea shell that will dictate your overall strategy. It's what you aspire to deliver to the people who will determine the level of wealth you ultimately achieve. In direct response advertising, only the list is more important. In growing your business, only choosing the niche and market is more important. Key points. Ultimately, the offer is the heart of your entire company. It's what you promise the market. It's what you strive to consistently deliver, and it's what you get known for. It's the ultimate acquisition tool, understanding how to attain the JV partners that matter. I don't know how that relates back to it, but okay. Most people get this wrong and don't continually try to improve it and develop entirely different offers, but the big boys do. All right. The right target market with the right offer plus the right marketing will give you the momentum that you need to take your first step towards freedom. What's a compelling offer? A compelling offer is a special deal. It's a believable promise derived from your USP, made to your target market to remove all roadblocks to taking action. It incentivizes people to engage because what you are offering has a higher perceived value than what you are asking for in return. It calls out to your prospects, take action now. Now, what's missing in this presentation are a lot of the details that Alex provided, but I have more details here. Let's see how far we go. It takes two conditions. First, a clear USP, then a value proposition that hits the target market. It comes from the core of your USP, your unique selling proposition. When combined with a value proposition that hits the target market with laser focus, you have a winner. What remains is a single unifying message. Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that, but I would say that some of these elements that we're talking about for the first hour certainly make an impact on these. And I would imagine that you guys would agree. Why is a compelling offer so important? The compelling offer is the beginning. When you're building an empire, it's important to focus on the path that matters the most. A compelling offer is that first road, the birth of everything to come. Your success, the customers you attract, the work you do, the employees that will come on board, etc. And I hope that's clear. I think a lot of people miss that point, that your offer is determining what you're going to do for your customers. Therefore, it's going to determine who you hire. It's going to determine everything, right? Ultimately, your business is in business to deliver that offer and then to fulfill that offer. That wasn't enough. You'll immediately boost profits and build a bigger list faster with a better offer. You'll dramatically increase your product's offers conversion rate with a better offer. You'll make a lot more money for each and every visitor that sees your offer, and you'll build barriers of entry by having a strong offer that is unbeatable in your field. There is no one size fits all. Recognize that the more you know about the prospect, the more you know about the persona, avatar, what have you, the easier it is to make a compelling offer. And that it's impossible or close to impossible when you have very little knowledge about the prospect. The types of compelling offers you make on your site will totally depend on your target market and your understanding of their problems. Elements of a successful offer: solves an urgent, pressing problem. This I got from Gary Bencivenga. With a solution that is uniquely superior, that is backed up by as much proof as possible, with an appealing proposition that is hard to resist. So it's urgent problem with a superior, unique solution backed up by lots of proof and an offer that is appealing. Solves an urgent, pressing problem. Solves your customers' problems better than your competition does. Customers only care about themselves. They only care about how your product or services solves their problem or improves their position. If you solve problems that create side effects that you can solve too, you have even more unique and compelling offers. If you leave just one out, your chances of creating a truly irresistible offer are very low. All four factors together are the building blocks for persuading someone to accept your offer. And those four building blocks are these. And this is from Gary Bencivenga. And for those that don't know, Gary Bencivenga is one of the most successful copywriters that ever lived, as far as number of controls, number of times he's beat the controls, etc. Okay, some key points to remember. John Caples talks about self-interest and curiosity, that these are the two elements that work the best in headlines, and same with products a lot of times. Jeff Walker, it's overwhelming proof in case studies and scarcity. Kennedy also has reasons people don't buy. There's a bunch of reasons. I don't believe you. My situation isn't so bad. My situation is beyond hope. If this is so good, why are you selling it? Stuff like that. Reeves, a gifted product is mightier than a gifted pen. The better the product, the less the copywriter has to be great. Gora model, the 4 U's we call it: urgency, uniqueness, ultra specificity, and usefulness. I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse. The Godfather, hurdles your offer must overcome. Okay, today's most pressing problem: not enough attention to meet the information demands of business and society. Okay, we have too much to pay attention to. This, remember, this is 2007. This is the year, like, the iPhone was just about to come out. It hadn't come out yet. Human attention might be one of the most restrictive limitations to the promise of the internet. That's what Michael Wade said at the Rand Corporation. Attention has become the scarce resource of the information economy, says Wired magazine. Consumers understand they have a choice, but they have no idea how to decide. In an attention deficit society, customers are forced to look for shortcuts. One of the most popular shortcuts today is to find a specialist expert and let them do the thinking and decide for you, right? Are you the expert? The specialist effect. Everybody thinks specialist equals expert, and general practitioner does not. Whether it's actually true or not doesn't matter, because we're talking about perceptions. The same thing is true in business. Specialization drives quality. Buyers know this. Sellers often forget this. According to marketing guru Dan Kennedy, most people are wandering around with their umbilical cord in hand, just looking for a place to plug in. It's easier for other people we trust as experts to make decisions for us, to tell us what to do. In this day and age, if you are the real deal expert, then you can seize the advantage relatively quickly. The legal profession. A law firm used to be a law firm and handled every type of case except in small communities. Law firms today generally specialize in accident, bankruptcy, etc. Legal power lies in being a specialist, not a generalist. Same is true for doctors, accountants, etc. Positioning. One of the definitions of positioning is controlling how your customers and prospective customers think and feel about your business in comparison to other similar businesses competing for their attention. Let me know if I should keep going with this presentation. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'm going to pull back to me for a second, see what you guys have had to say, and then we will take it from there. Okay. Uber is a great example. That moving car eliminates the stress of continually wondering when the car is going to arrive. The wait becomes more bearable due to clarity on when it will finally arrive. Hence, right, Sebastian, a psychological as opposed to logical. Great answer, Rich. Thanks. On a separate note, in the information business, a lot of people outsource product creation with an intention to scale. How does the outsourcing model fit into the concept of owning the idea and creating something original? I mean, you cannot outsource your brain. So is there a moral dilemma here? People use ghostwriters to write books. Everything you have done has been your own and is the reason for your success. So what are your thoughts on this? Thanks. I think it depends on the market, but I think in general, outsourcing your product creation is not a great idea unless you're outsourcing it to someone who can build something better than you can, which is totally possible, right? There are certainly people who specialize in creating courses, and they certainly could be really good at what they do. All my marketing reports I wrote, but Clayton Makepeace rewrote a few of them for me because he wanted to learn the material for himself. And I would say I wrote the first 6 reports. But after that, I hired a copywriter by the name of Chuck Dolce, and he wrote the reports. Now, the way it worked was I would come up with an idea, or I would just give him my research, and then together we'd come up with an idea. If I already had the idea, I would then bring him the research I had, and then he would go through that research and create a table of contents. Then we would get together, we would talk about the table of contents, he would record it. From there, the table of contents would get fleshed out more, right, based on the conversation and transcript. Then he would go and write, and then it would be back and forth. And at the end of the day, I figured people weren't buying my reports because they love my writing. I write the way I speak, and it's not wicked prose or anything like that. Really, people were subscribing for my ideas. And as long as I'm working with someone very closely, they can express those ideas, and it can save me a lot of time. And so I think that it just depends on the model. You could say that with Steal Our Winners, none of the content is my content. So are we outsourcing the content? Not really, but I think it depends on how you categorize. But just as a blatant, straightforward, taking PLR and putting it under your own name, you're not going to build a brand that way, and you're not going to be any better than anyone else, most likely worse, and it would not be wise. Are you talking about signature program offers or just having different offers? Each one having those irresistible characteristics. Leon, I'm just talking about offers in general. That could be your signature offer, or it could be just really any offer. All right, so then let's keep going. All right, one of the definitions of positioning is controlling how your customers and prospective customers think and feel about your business in comparison to other similar businesses competing for their attention. Business is a battle of perceptions, not products. The real driving force in the business world is not quality, but perception of quality. People drink the label, not the contents, which is another way of saying that the perception is the reality. In this attention deficit world, you need a never-ending, tightly focused marketing strategy positioning you as an expert in an area you are deeply passionate about. What is marketing? Most entrepreneurs get this wrong. These are my old slides. Marketing is bringing the market to desire your product or service. The aim of marketing is to make selling superfluous. Selling, marketing, right? So the ducks will want to come to your field. Sales, taking a gun and shooting the sitting ducks. If the ducks are not sitting in your field, don't blame sales. The new currency of the digital age. In today's copycat environment, it's often incredibly difficult for prospects to differentiate between competitors. Wow, you think it's any more difficult now, 14 years later? Ultimately, that's because most businesses say the same thing. So how do you stand out? The internet is to entrepreneurs, this is one of my favorite quotes too, Seth Godin's quote, the internet is to entrepreneurs what radio was to records. And just to understand that, the record industry fought radio tooth and nail. Radio was able to actually exist, so they lost. And then they found out that there was nothing better than radio for selling music, because how else would a new song came out? So the internet was certainly to me what radio was to recording artists when I released the manifesto, right? When you get your airtime, your song better be good. That's where the irresistible offer comes in. Attention, cash. Paying attention is rare because time is scarce. When attention is paid, cash follows. A healthy pyramid with lots of people paying attention grows tall and profitable. The sooner you ask for money, the less of it you get. The more you give away, the more people will want to buy from you. In an age of information overload, when you come in through the back door with free, valuable content, the payoff can be big. Now, remember, I was talking about this in 2007. So this is before most people were giving away like lots of stuff. Know your customer. Get the lowdown on your customers. Do they have common interests? How do they find you? What's their average age? What other stuff do they buy? Who has an already existing relationship with them? And do they have a preferred buying style? This is from Dan Kennedy. I do not believe in generic persuasion. In fact, my contention is that truly understanding the targeted prospect customer is more important than any other element in marketing success. I am dismayed when a client, when challenged, cannot describe their ideal customer in copious detail. I absolutely guarantee the more about your customer, the more you will sell. And this is what I was saying. That must have sunk in after 14 years, right? The biggest reason why I have written successful marketing copy is my ability to get inside my customers' heads. This creates an immediate bond, and I am identified as an expert because I pinpointed their challenges, problems, or struggles better than they could. I became one of their key resources. I said that, not Dan. You can tap into your customers' problems, put yourself in their shoes. If you are a part of their target market, assume that the deep challenges that you struggle with are the same as everyone else's. Strategic Profits was born out of my own struggles with trying to build a business online. My most successful blog posts have always been the ones I secretly wrote to myself, like decrease the input and increase the output. You stand out by providing solutions. You must solve your customers' problems better than your competition. Customers only care about themselves. They only care about how your product or services solves their problems. To win customers, your offer must solve their problems in unique and creative ways. In my experience, excellent copywriting is born out of the fusion of empathy for one audience, confident knowledge of the subject matter, and trust in one's intuition. Without intuition, there is no creativity. And without creativity, words and letters are best locked up in the dictionary. How do you communicate empathetically to your customers? Remove your internal editors. Write like you talk. It's less formal. Use contractions, and it's okay to begin sentences with and or but or. Use ellipses, those three dots, to indicate a pause in thought. Use one or two word sentences and short paragraphs to express a quick thought. Specialized knowledge helps you relate. Keep a warm and comfortable tone. Listen. How do you listen to your customers when they're not there? The same way you would if they were there, by asking a question and then listening for the answer. From inside yourself, establishing a dialogue. Be the customer. Address every one of their objections. Make a powerful promise. Back everything up with proof, and prove why your product and service is the only solution. Give them what they truly desire. Begin with what the prospect wants, then show them how to get it. Create a win-win situation where customers become your greatest advocate. Let's now go back to the comments for a second. And then I think we're going to wrap a little bit early. I reckon only good thing is we saw a really bad offer to contrast what you've been teaching us. Oh, yeah. This has become a new talking point for me, at least. Something I learned from David Deutsch in a Steal Our Winners that I think gets released at the end of this month. But he said that if I trust you, I don't need proof. And if I don't trust you, then you could bring all the proof in the world and I still don't believe you. Can you talk about one of your slides, the sooner you ask for money, the less you get? Doesn't Agora go directly to the sales page? Yeah, for a $49 offer. For a $49 offer, that can work. And if you're doing a back-end offer to customers who already bought from you, that works. But if you're trying to get a big price point out of someone that you've never sold to before, then the sooner you ask for money, the less you get of it. Because the ideal scenario is them asking you, how can I pay you? What can I do for you? Scott Oldford talks about doing his omnipresence approach and not even making anything available for sale for 10 to 14 days. And then when that is so pent up, people are calling his office asking, how can I hire you? I'm not suggesting that this is always the best approach, but when we're talking about marketing, the reason I was able to sell expensive programs to people who had never bought from me before was because my reports delivered value, and I gave that before I ever asked anyone to give me money. And it's the same thing with what Alex Hormozi is doing. He's not asking people for money. I mean, the 99 cents for the Amazon book, you're paying that to Amazon, and he's not asking for anything. But because he's not asking for anything, people will go there, they will give him money, or they will give him pieces of their business, guaranteed. So that's what I mean by that, Leon. All right, guys, if I were going to be doing a workshop with you right now on offers, the thing that I would want to spend quite a bit of time on is thinking about, like, one, what is the ultimate outcome that people want, and what do they believe they're going to have to do with the way your offer is right now to get that? How do we really minimize that? And we minimize that by possibly taking the steps of the process that they got to overcome, creating our own terminology of the steps, and showing people this momentum of things happening on their behalf, the steps in the offer. Taylor Welsh's take a bonus from past the timeline and include it in the offer to increase believability and certainty makes a lot of sense as well. So that's kind of it. And I could certainly talk to you a lot more about offers, but really what needs to be done is the work. If you're serious about growing your business and you currently don't have the most amazing offer, spending some time every day, 10 minutes a day, thinking about how to make a better offer for your business and playing with the steps, playing with reducing the amount of work they have to do on their part, or at least the perception of it. All these will make a difference. And if you're focused on it daily, you will have the insights you most desire, and that will make the most difference. Also, for Steal Our Winners members, there is a great Steal Our Winners by Caleb, where he went through offers, and quite a few of my friends and peers who've gone through that segment have told me that it was awesome.